trauma and chronic stress and dysregulation teach us that every day we have to open the menu and there's only one thing on the menu, or maybe two. And healing is showing us that maybe there's another page. Maybe there's a couple specials on the menu. Maybe there's some things that we can try on. It's not about getting rid of the survival strategy or never having that online again, but just showing our system that maybe there's other options. It's not that you're broken. It's just your system might want to learn that there's other options available.
Welcome to 3%. We're your hosts, Jamie Haig.
And I'm Blake Roberts.
We're two best friends, fathers, husbands, and just two guys trying to figure it out.
We're also therapists, which is probably a pretty important part.
That's true.
And we believe that at our best, people are 97% honest with themselves and others. And it's that hidden 3% of emotions, needs, desires, and behaviors that we keep to ourselves that keep us bound to shame and loneliness, from which many of our issues stem.
Each week on this podcast, we'll interview leaders in the fields of psychology, theology, arts, and athletics to explore holistic masculinity. We're not here to tell you the man you need to be, but we are here to help you explore what gets in the way of being the man you want to be.
We're going to help you develop courage and give you the tools to share your 3% in the relationships that matter most, so you can more deeply connect with yourself, God, and others. So, pull up a chair.
Let's get into it.
So let's be honest, let's be honest, let's be honest, let's be honest, won't you be?
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the 3% Podcast. Glad you're here with us this week. Pretty exciting guest, a little bit different, but we have Lexy Florentina on the show this week. She is a somatic experiencing practitioner, a writer, a storyteller, a teacher. She's got a pretty massive following on Instagram where she writes a lot about somatic experiencing, which we're going to talk about in this show today.
If you're like, what is that?
Yeah, you're going to find out. It's a therapeutic modality, but it's all about helping us facilitate or foster a relationship with our body, which may be even a little bit of a confusing idea hearing that. But she's going to give us some more insight on it. And I mean, dude, it was...
Yeah, and don't worry, we model it on Blake so you'll really know what we're doing.
Yeah, we talk about this at kind of a 30,000 foot view, and then she gets into guiding me through an exercise that was incredibly impactful for me. And I think that people are going to get a lot from it. I think it was really good.
Yeah, I agree. So pull up a chair. Let's get into this episode.
Well, thanks again for joining us.
Yeah.
We're excited to talk about this conversation. I think our listeners will be excited.
Yeah.
Some of them might be like, what is
Most
somatics?
of them probably feel the same they do a lot of the time with us, which is like, what are you guys talking about?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I have followed Lexy on internet. Good Lord. I sound like an old man. I have followed Lexy on the interwebs, on Instagram for a few years, and she is, what are you, like, what are you professionally, technically?
A somatic experiencing practitioner.
Okay.
And I work under the umbrella as a practitioner, and then I'm a writer as well. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So tell us maybe a little bit, so obviously we're going to talk about somatics today, and I'm going to defer and let her explain a little bit about what that is. But maybe first tell our audience what a somatic practitioner is or does.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I'll preface with is that there are somatic practitioners and then there's somatic experiencing practitioners. And the word somatic comes from the root word soma. And so it means of the body. And so when we're looking at somatic work, we're looking at a somatic practitioner. It means somebody that is using the body as a lens rather than just primarily the mind. And in somatic experiencing, it's also a trauma resolution modality. And so it's a 3-year, very hands-on clinical training of working with the body and the nervous system to support trauma resolution. And so there can be a somatic practitioner that might have trained in a variety of somatic modalities. And then in somatic experiencing, it is a more hands-on, tends to be a post-grad clinical training that works with a variety of different complex and shock traumas. And so in my work, the way that I use somatic therapy and somatic work is really building a relationship with the body. So we're not just using it as a lens, we're trying to build a relationship with it. And so that we are not just kind of following and tracking sensations and using that to change things, but actually getting to know what it is that we're experiencing inside and really the vessel that we're in.
I like that. Why is that important to you? Like, I think sometimes our listeners like to get an idea, and I do too, of, especially when we have somebody on that's kind of like an expert in their field, like how did you even get to doing what you're doing now? Maybe the 30,000 foot view.
Yeah. Well, long story short, I was a client myself. And so I have a long history of complex trauma and chronic illness. And for a long time, like many of the folks that I work with, I was seeing doctor after doctor after doctor, therapist after therapist. And I was already in the health and wellness field for a long time. I was a meditation teacher and a yoga instructor, and I was in therapy for many years. And I was very self-aware, so to speak, and doing all the right things. And yet things still felt very stuck. I was still very ill. I was still very anxious in emotional turmoil every day. And my body was really something that I was at war with often. And so when I was going into, whether it was a doctor's office or a therapy office, my objective was like, how do I fix this? How do I fix what is happening here? Like, let me get over this. And I remember there was a moment many years ago when I first started working with a somatic therapist, because there was, so many years where I was doing talk therapy, which was very helpful for many things. And I still felt stuck. And so I started to learn more and more about the nervous system, started to do my own research, got to that point in my journey that a lot of people find themselves in, where they start to take it into their own hands and do their own research. And so that led me to learn about somatic work and decide I'm going to try this out for myself. And, there was a point in time where I remember a somatic therapist had asked me, when it came to my symptoms and the things that I was experiencing, they were asking me, how does it serve you? Like, what do you think the purpose is of this? How is it serving you? And I looked at her dead in the face and was like, it's not. There is nothing about this that is serving me. There is nothing about this that is helping me. There's no benefit to this. And I remember that so specifically because it kind of was a turning point for me, that at that time, it really felt like nothing I was experiencing was for any benefit, any purpose. There was no lesson here to learn. There was no message. It was just, there's something wrong with me. And what I learned then over time, the hard way, is that my body wasn't fighting against me, it was fighting for me. And that's really the premise of my work now, is that no matter how much pain, how much turmoil we're in, whether it is anxiety, depression, addiction, you name it, our body is screaming at us because we've been conditioned to ignore its whispers. There's an indigenous proverb that says that. And so, I was very fortunate enough to then be able to train in this work, learn more, build a community that started just from my own story and my own sharing of my journey, that then grew into the community I have now, where people are really learning that their body is not the villain. It is their ally, and it always has been. And so, yeah, that's really what brought me here today and the work that I do now.
I thought this was going to be a good guest.
Yeah, totally. I feel like, I'm also, for the listener, I'm like hyper aware of my sound right now. I'm like trying not to be on it.
We're having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, we're having some
but
technical
Derek's going to sort it out.
Yeah. Our listeners are familiar with our technical difficulties. I see this in myself, and we talk about, like, even the reason we're interested in getting trained in somatic experiencing is because of our interest in it for ourselves and what we see clinically and in our own stories of, like, this disconnection between the body and like what we feel like we're emotionally experiencing, and how we've detached that from as two separate experiences. And I often use a quote from Gabor Mate about addiction, which is, the question is not why the addiction, but why the pain. And as you were talking, I was like, I don't think even when I say that quote and thinking of it in terms of the physical pain that you might be in, I think I'm typically thinking of it in terms of like your emotional needs and the pain of that. But how much what you're saying is it's like all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. Emotional, mental, spiritual, physical. There's so many different layers of pain. And for many of us, we've been conditioned to only see one of them or see them as something that's wrong with us rather than information, which is really what it is.
I feel like for a lot of our listeners who 70% male until the last few weeks, it's probably more evened out, half and half maybe now.
Sure.
When you talk about a relationship with the body, this may be a little bit of I'll try not to use like a stereotype, but I feel like with a lot of men, the relationship with the body is either shame-based. So like we see a lot of addicts or people struggling with addiction, pornography addiction, sex addiction, alcohol, like ways of engaging their body that they maybe don't want to be, but they are, and so it's causing a lot of shame. Or a relationship with the body that is based in like solely power and strength, like obsessed with working out, physical dominance. And I think that's like a cultural thing. That's there's lots of different reasons for that, but I think that's why when, like in my office, when I'm sitting with somebody and I'm getting them to even just like be curious about or pay attention to what they're experiencing in their body when there's a more vulnerable emotion coming up, that's maybe this, I don't know, fostering this more of like a softer relationship with the body. It's like a lot of guys will just look at me like, what are you talking about? What do you mean? Where do I feel it in my body? Or what is my body trying to tell me? And so I think when I'm hearing you talk about fostering, like helping people foster a relationship with their body, it seems like there needs to be like some softness and like compassion and curiosity with that. Does that feel true?
Yeah, absolutely. Curiosity is like the number one pillar of being able to work with our body, because especially, and like you mentioned not trying to stereotype, and stereotypes really are built off of our conditioning. And so they're so ingrained, and they're here and they're present for a reason, because that's how we've been socialized. And so the quote unquote stereotype that you're describing is that men tend to have that disconnect, and they tend to go from one end of the spectrum or the other, which is either shame-based towards addiction, towards these coping strategies, or control, power-based. And really these are, ways in which we are trying to cope with the imprint of overwhelm, right? Is that like, if I'm overwhelmed and I haven't been given the tools or the support or the attunement that I need to be able to process this, how do I contain what is happening inside of me? I'm going to reach for this thing. I'm going to try to control. I'm going to try to dominate. I'm going to try to go into all these different places that society has deemed fine, has deemed acceptable, has deemed normal. And so in that process, though, oftentimes men and women, but since we're speaking more to men here, we've learned in that process to then override and disconnect what's happening, because that's not acceptable. It's not acceptable to feel the hurt or the grief or the pain or the fear or the sadness. And so when we speak about building a relationship with our body, it's really being challenged with curiosity, because in that same wheelhouse of being disconnected from our body, then men tend to also be taught to then have the answers, to logically figure something out. And so they might go inward and go, okay, have the answer. What does this mean? And so the practice is less about let's find meaning to everything. It's more about let's be curious. If we were to just wonder what that feels like, what the sensation is like, what the impulse is like, then what happens? And that's a really big challenge for a lot of people, is to just wonder and be curious. It's like, no, I have to know. I have to know what this is, right? And it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we were recently talking with a guy named John Deloney, and he was saying how even the idea of, wow, I'm not trying to name drop at the moment. Dan Allender was on our podcast, and he had this phrase that he used that kind of wrecked us, where he was like, the men that he works with are willing to bring their bodies into physical spaces of harm, but they get terrified when they are bringing their hearts into those places of harm. And John was saying how his initial response to that is that he's doing something wrong, which even speaks to what you're talking about of like our initial inclination is to shame ourselves for not being willing to do something scary, instead of the inclination being curiosity. And I do think that gets in the way, particularly with men with me. I'll stop speaking for all men. That gets in the way for me with somatic work, is that I do feel that initial inclination to shame when we're trying to, like you were saying, just be curious about the prompting, or, the trigger or whatever it is. I have that disconnected relationship.
Like I have to make sense of it.
Yeah.
Do something with it.
Or numb it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
What do you say to somebody who the idea of having a relationship with their body is a new concept
Yeah.
or newish?
It is for most people, right? I have yet to meet someone, or at least very rarely, who grew up modeled that or having that be instilled. Most folks that I meet, whether it's clients or friends or family, they were modeled how to disconnect from their body, right? We learn this from a really young age. Example I always look at is when we're really young in elementary school and we're told to be quiet and sit still when we're 5 or 7 or 8. And that's just not the impulse of our body. We can't ask a 7-year-old to sit still and be quiet for 8 hours a day, or when they have to hold their bladder when they need to use the bathroom, and then they're, shamed or punished for these impulses and these requests and these needs from their body, or when they're hungry every 10 minutes, right? So we learn from a very young age to shut that down, right? We need to be still. We need to be quiet. We need to be good. We need to be polite. And most of the time, that's not authentic for a 7-year-old or a 10-year-old, right? There's other things happening. So we learn really, really early on. I mean, even earlier than that, we can think of, when we're told it's not nice if we don't want to give a stranger a hug or a kiss, right? I know I've witnessed it before, family members, friends, when there's children that are hiding and they don't want to say hi, or they don't want to give you a hug. And then it's, that's not nice. Go give them a hug. Go give them a kiss. Yep. There's an impulse in their body saying, I'm not comfortable with that right now. And we're telling them to override that. And it comes from good intentions. It doesn't mean that we are, malicious. But what it does communicate over time is, this is how I belong. This is how I'm connected with.
Dang. Yeah, I have to reject what feels authentic in me. Mm-hmm. It's like, we keep talking about him, but Gabor Mate, like we have to choose between attachment and authenticity. Like I have to reject this thing in me that is leading me one way or the other, so that I can attach to whoever is across from me.
Yes, exactly. And that's biologically hardwired, because we are humans that are hardwired for connection and belonging and relationship. And so that's what the incredible intelligence of the body is that it will orient us towards the number one thing that we need, which is connection. It will override all of our needs, because it knows deep down we need that connection. Especially as children, we are 100% dependent on our caregivers. So it will say, I don't care what it is that I need. I don't care if I'm hurt. If this connects me, if this keeps me in even a false sense of safety with this person, then that's what I need to do. And that's a way that we survive. It's a way that we stay in contact with our innate needs. And it is incredibly intelligent.
1 second. I have a question.
Yeah.
So it even sounds like you're saying, like, it's whether we want to pay attention somatically or not, our somatics are going to be dictating how we operate.
In a way, yeah, our body is always going to orient us towards survival. It is hardwired. And so whether that orientation is leading us towards addiction or dissociation or people pleasing, it's still coming from our system, right? It's still saying, I've got it. I'm going to try to contain this, right? I'm going to, this really beautiful phrase that doesn't originate from me. And I don't remember where I first heard it, but I use it all the time is one way our body helps us cope with things is it can say, I can't change this, but I can help you not feel it.
Say it again.
I
Please.
can't change this. I can't change what's happening, but I can help you not feel it.
Yeah.
That's what the body's saying.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's what our system is trying to do for us.
I think that's what I was kind of getting at is like,
Wow,
even
that
if you
feels very
don't pay
personal right
attention, I know, sorry. Even if you don't pay attention to it, your somatics, your experience is still dictated by that need for survival. So like your body is experiencing things, and whether you pay attention to it or not, I'll say for me, like this is how I ended up becoming addicted to pornography for so long is like, okay, well, I'm having an experience. I am cut off from that. And even this is giving me language because I was, Lexy, 30,000 foot, I was sexually abused for a while. And so I like that. I physically cut off from that. And I physically cut off from myself in a lot of ways just to maintain safety within a context that I could not control.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I maintained that safety through the use of pornography and continued to afterwards, even though that abusive situation had ended. My body had not come back to reconnection at all. And while you were talking, it just made me think, one, that's very personal and like, ouch. And then two, it reminds me of Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, of like, your body is going to keep this score. It's going to come out somehow, whether it's you caring for it in a way that's compassionate and kind, or if it's your body saying, I can't fix this, but I can help you not feel it.
Right.
Ugh. You got taken out, dude.
Yeah. I'm just going through some stuff that I think I wish could change or be different. And I did not, I mean, I cognitively know, but when you said that line that the body's saying I can't change things, but I can help you not feel it, maybe this is what it is. Most of the time, I'll hear something like that. This is really interesting. Sorry. Okay, most of the time I'll hear something like that at like a very cognitive level. Like enters through the prefrontal cortex. I'm like, ooh, that's good. That's good information. I'm going to store that and use it for later. And that's helpful because like I didn't have language for stuff growing up. So to have language and insight is really helpful for me. And a lot of times I think it can stay there. But when you said that quote, a combination of you saying it, what we're talking about, and what I'm going through, my body or me like felt very seen. Because I've been saying to him, to other people that in my life right now, like, I'm not trying, like people like maybe ask me how I'm doing or whatever. And I'll be like, I'm not trying to not feel this. Like, I don't think I'm intentionally distracting myself from my feelings in ways that I have in the past, but I'm just feeling kind of numb. Like I'm not really feeling anything. And there's like this little layer of like, I'm doing something wrong for not feeling it. And so when you said that, yeah, that just helped. I felt seen, and it helps give me some compassion for the ways that my body is trying to keep me safe or protecting me. And then there was also this little tiny like door that started to crack open. That was like, I could start weeping right now. And I'll come back to that later so we can finish this episode. But yeah, that did something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you're saying we should do a somatic exercise on you right now?
I don't know. I'm not gonna put Lexy on the hot spot.
Yeah.
Well, when you say, which, by the way, thank you for sharing that, both of you. When you say that really made me feel seen, I wonder for you, what are the sensations of being seen?
All right, you keep an eye on the time. So I'm going to close my eyes.
All right, I got it.
I did feel my shoulders drop a little bit. And again, there was this like rising of the like urge to cry. There weren't necessarily tears that came. My tear ducts didn't get filled, but like that feeling sort of rose, and then there was like just like a general warmth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And is that a familiar feeling for you?
I have felt it before. I would like to feel it more often. So it's not completely unfamiliar, but in this season of life, it can be a familiar stranger.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Because I'm just like busy and going, and like we're about to have another kid in a month, and we're getting ready for that, and there's just lots of things as there always is to keep my system in just sort of this like hyper aroused, gotta keep moving, keep going space.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. And you have to meet that some way, right? You have to adapt to that go, 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 all the things that are happening. I wonder if for a moment, considering all the things that are happening around you in your life, even in this moment and in this podcast, there's time going, but I wonder if for this moment, you could just notice that this feeling is here and that there's nothing that you have to be doing. There's nothing you need to respond to. There's nowhere you have to be. And what that's like.
Well, as you were saying that, I heard a part of me go, "Oh, we know, but that's so hard. 'Cause we feel like we're supposed to do something about it."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm aware, like my jaw feels tense, and like my teeth are shut when I'm saying that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
So it's like this, like I'm clenching my fist now. Like I gotta hold on to this and do something about it.
Mm-hmm. Holding on to what?
Perceived control.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Control of?
Myself. Not myself from falling apart, maybe.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. I wonder if we could show that part that's really afraid of falling apart, that wants to grip, how you are abundantly held right now, that even if you did fall apart, you'd be caught. So the chair you're sitting in, can you notice for a moment how the surface is supporting your back and your bottom, and just how sturdy it feels? And even the ground, if your feet are on the ground, just noticing the stability that's beneath you. And if any part of that invites any bit of softening in your body, and I really want to name it, this is just an invitation. If your body wants to grip, then let it grip. But if there's any part that feels the urge to soften into the stability, notice if it might.
Yeah, it does. And what's really interesting is this chair I'm sitting in. It's a vintage chair. It's very uncomfortable.
Oh.
Very hard. And when you're helping me bring awareness to what I'm sitting in, like it did feel supportive. And it did. There was a little bit of a deeper breath in the idea that like there's something supporting me, even if I fell apart. And it is, I don't think, ironic to me that I'm sitting in this chair and not the one Jamie's sitting in that's way more plush and comfortable, because it's like reminding me that even if it feels uncomfortable, like maybe with somebody else, that I can still receive support from that. And it feel good, even if it's a little uncomfortable.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. What a beautiful metaphor that chair offers, is that it might not be the most comfortable, but man, it might be really sturdy, solid. And I wonder what happens for your body if something else gets to be solid for you.
Yeah, I feel more relaxed. Just more. It's almost like if there was a speed dial. From the outside, it may appear calm, but like the speed was up pretty high internally.
Yeah.
And it feels like the dial is just kind of turned down, and there's just more slowness right now.
Nice.
In my body, like energetically.
Right. So if that feels okay, hang out with that for a minute. And maybe just notice what it might be like to take what I like to call a sensory snapshot. That this exists for you. What stepping one step closer to safety might feel like for you.
Yeah, I can do that. It feels good.
How do you know?
How do I know? I mean, what feels honest right now is like, I don't really know how I know, but I just kind of know.
Yeah.
And even that feels okay right now, where usually that would be like, that's not a good enough, I need to know how I know.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a good enough answer.
Yeah. So notice even that subtle shift of being okay with, there's a knowing here. I don't really know what it is, but I can feel something.
Yeah.
Maybe just becoming aware of what happens next for you, where your body then starts to go.
It's funny, I was, where it started to go, like by itself, was, okay, that feels good. I know that good is a very subjective word, but that feels complete for now. We can open our eyes and come back to this space, the three of us. And even there was a slight like, no, you have to keep your eyes closed until Lexy tells you to open them. Because if not, you'll be popping out of it too soon. But because there's that knowing, it was like, no, this feels like it doesn't feel like I'm jumping out of anything to avoid it. It just feels like this is complete for right now. And so I can open my eyes.
That's it. That's following our body, right? When there is something organically, impulsively feels like, I want to open my eyes. I want to look around. I want to move. I want to stand up. I want to sit. And following that is that innate quality that we've been conditioned out of. It's like, no, I should be doing this.
Yeah. And it's like the little voice is like, you're the person in authority in this context guiding me through this thing. And so I have to fully surrender to you and wait until you tell me I can come out of it, which I can see there could be some benefit to that in certain contexts. Like, yeah,
there can be. And more importantly, there needs to be choice and agency. And so when I hear sometimes, it's a common assumption sometimes that we have to just surrender to whoever is, on the other side of us. And I'm sure you guys have this experience, as therapists, is that someone is waiting for you to tell them what to do. And big part of healing, and especially in renegotiating trauma and working with our nervous system, is creating enough space for an individual to follow their own impulse, for their body to communicate what is the next step.
Yeah, that felt really nice to be able to notice and then follow.
Right. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely,
It was nice watching it.
It was nice watching it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I could see, like, especially during the sturdiness part, I could see the relief in your shoulders. It was interesting to watch, and then I'm watching you, and then I'm like, oh wait, that's a really good question. What would it feel like to allow someone else to be sturdy for me? And then I was like, whoop, I'm gonna cry. All right, come back here.
Yeah, there was a lot of really good questions that you asked in that.
It totally demystified it too. Of like, this is just such body-oriented curiosity that's patient. And yeah, I think sometimes even as a therapist, you hear about all these different modalities and styles of therapy, and you're just like, man, I wonder what that's like. And then you experience it, and you're like, it's not any like rocket science. It's just attuned, patient, curious, and like maybe guided in a way that you're so, like you said, conditioned out of.
Yeah.
And as you get somebody to guide you back through how you've been conditioned away from something, it almost felt like while you were talking, I was going, wow, like I almost shamed myself of like, how would I have never thought of that question before? And then I'm going, I probably didn't have to ask that question at some point, and then learned to dismiss that question. And now it's not a question in my mind, not because I don't want it to be, but because it feels like it's not allowed to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have no idea what time it is.
It's 12:26.
That felt like it could have been 2 minutes or it could have been an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. I think even what we were hoping for in talking to you, I think a lot of times what we hope for in talking to you is, or in talking to anybody who does this work or this kind of work, is that somebody will be able to hear a part of their story in what's happening here. And so I guess what I'm reflecting on is like I could even hear my own story in what you were saying, so I'm grateful for that. And I'd also be curious like what you would want our listeners to hear from you as like an encouragement for them.
Yeah, I love that question. You know, oftentimes when we are listening, whether it's a podcast or an audiobook, or we're reading something or we're consuming content around therapy or trauma or the nervous system, we are doing so to learn how to better ourselves. And our society has also made it so that we're doing so to try to fix something about ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And so many of us, men and women, are listening, and they might find something in a story like you're saying, or they might hear a modality there and they go, oh, okay, if I do this thing, then this experience I'm having, maybe it will finally be the thing that will stop this or that will change this. And we've kind of become a society that is just addicted to consuming information, right? And information is beautiful. It's great, and we need it. And I guess I caution listeners to consume from a place of needing to fix, because what we're speaking to here is that there quite literally is not anything wrong with your body, whether it is a symptom or an addiction or an emotion. The body is responding so correctly. You know, there's this beautiful quote, Mate again, that is, these experiences we're having are normal responses to an abnormal situation. And so many of us are experiencing that. Something that we believe is broken is actually our body doing exactly what it's meant to do. It is designed to respond in all of these different ways, in the ways that it only knows how, and in the ways that have supported us the most. So if throughout our life, the only way we were able to move through something was to freeze, then our system has learned that that's the most successful thing we can do. If the only way we're able to move through life is to stay in urgency and hustle, then that is the one thing that our body has learned to do. And so I guess in a nutshell, it's get curious about the potential idea that there's nothing wrong with your body, that there's everything right with your body, and that maybe there's just something that your system, your body is needing to understand, that the option that it's had to choose over and over and over and over again may not be the only one anymore. There may be more options. I always use the metaphor of like a menu. Trauma and chronic stress and dysregulation teach us that every day we have to open the menu and there's only one thing on the menu, or maybe two. And healing is showing us that maybe there's another page. Maybe there's a couple specials on the menu. Maybe there's some things that we can try on. It's not about getting rid of the survival strategy or never having that online again, but just showing our system that maybe there's other options. It's not that you're broken. It's just your system might want to learn that there's other options available.
That's really good. Listening not from the place of trying to fix something wrong could not be more in line with our whole purpose of the show.
Yeah.
Like Jamie always says, we're not telling men or women, whoever's listening, we're not telling them who to be, but helping them explore what gets in the way of being who they want to be.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of things within it and externally, biases, all the things that can get in the way of who we want to be. I knew, I had a feeling this was going to be good, just again, because I've been reading your words for some time, and the way that you simplify things is really helpful. I feel very honored and kind of lucky to be guided by you in that exercise. That was really helpful for me, and I hope it will be for people listening.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a pleasure, to kind of dip in the short amount of time that we have to just kind of be with what's here, and there's so much that comes up in the body and in the different ways that your system's presenting just in the moment, its response to things. There's tons of different places that we can go with that. Of course, if we had an hour or 2 hours, there's a lot of things that we can go and do. But, more than anything, oftentimes our body is just looking to be met. Like what's arising here, and can we be with that?
Yeah.
Instead of trying to be like, okay, shift into something else or change something else. Of like, what happens when our body is just met where it is?
Yeah.
Lexy, where can people find you to follow along, read more?
Work with you? Is there anything you're working on?
Yeah. So my community is primarily on Instagram. You can find me at Lexy Florentina there. My website, lexyflorentina.com, that has all of my courses and programs, including a recent membership community space called Held. And it's a co-resting community where we gather throughout the month and we just learn how to be with our bodies and learn how to tend to the body without consuming more information. And it's at a community space where we just drop in and we learn whatever is here. How can we move towards that? Whether it's resistance or whether it's softening, how can we move towards that? How can we hold it? And how can we be held in community? Because the community element and healing is incredible too. So you can find all of that, whether it's on Instagram or on my website.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, so good. Well, everybody listening, we're glad you're here. Keep coming back. You're worth it.
Hey, thanks for tuning in to another episode. Listen, we're working on some really practical resources to help you connect more deeply with yourself and others. So if you head over to our website, 3percentco.com, you can learn more about that. The link will be in the show notes. And this is the part of the show where we ask you for some help. Listen, we don't have a big fancy production team. We're recording these in my therapy office in between sessions and in the margins of our life. We just really believe in the message that much. I listen to a lot of podcasts, and rarely would I take the time to review and rate a show, just because honestly, I forgot. It wasn't until we started doing this show that I realized doing that actually really does help these platforms notice our show and get the word out. And so if any of this is impactful to you, we would love it if you took a second to leave us a review, rate us, or if you want to just do it the old-fashioned way, text this link to a friend and say, hey, let's talk about this episode. Whatever you do, make sure to follow us on whatever platform you're listening to so you never miss an episode. We're really grateful you're here, and we'll see you next week.
So let's be honest.